Well, can you just lift your hands to the Lord this morning and give him praise? Give him a 2014 praise this morning. Hallelujah. If you know that there is no other way that you can live without him, then you don't have to wait till your neighbor praise him. You don't have to wait till the people on your row decide they want to give God glory. You can do it on your own, because there is no other way that we can live without him. Father, this morning we thank and praise you for bringing us again into this new year. You have been good to us, and we have so many things to give you praise for. You woke us up this morning, started us on our way, gave us activity of our limbs, and then you allowed us to be able to come into the house of the Lord this morning. And we are grateful. We appreciate your kindness to us. You didn't have to do it, but you did. We don't deserve it, but oh, your grace and mercy extended to us one more time. Thank you for another year. Now, Lord, send your word and speak to us at this hour as only you can. Let it fall on good ground today. In Jesus' name, praise the Lord. Amen. He's worthy to be praised. You can be seated in his presence this morning. I do honor God, who is the head of my life. Amen. Allowing me to be here this morning. Certainly I thank God for his kindness shown to us in so many ways. We're just excited about what he is doing and has done and is going to do. Amen. Throughout this year. And we do know that this is Communion Sunday, first Sunday of the year, and we want to be able to participate and partake of the body and blood of our Lord today. Amen. Let's do that. Amen. Let's do that. And certainly we thank God for First Lady Leslie. Amen. Praise the Lord. My whole entire family, and thank God for these elders and their wives and ministers and their wives and these deacons and mothers, saints and friends. And we are happy to hear this choir sing today. Amen. Sounding really good, aren't it? 2014 praise. Amen. The word of the Lord this morning is found in 1 Samuel chapter 1 and verse 17. Amen. I do want to get into the word today. Hallelujah. 1 Samuel chapter 1, verses 1 through 17. Trust you're having a blessed day in the Lord today. 1 Samuel 1, verses 1 through 17. If you have it, would just say amen. Amen. Don't have it, say hold on. There's a whole lot of folks. A whole lot of folks. So 1 Samuel 1. It's on page 258 in my Bible. I'm not sure what page it's on in yours. Amen. 1 Samuel chapter 1, verses 1 through 17. And there came a certain man of Ramoth Zophim of Mount Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tuha, the son of Zuph, an Ephrathite. And he had two wives. The name of the one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. And this man went up out of his city yearly to worship and to sacrifice unto the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. And the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, the priest of the Lord, were there. And when the time was that Elkanah offered, he gave to Peninnah his wife, and to all her sons and her daughters' portions. But unto Hannah he gave a worthy portion, for he loved Hannah. But the Lord had shut up her womb. And her adversary also provoked her sore, for to make her fret, because the Lord had shut up her womb. And as he did so year by year, when she went up to the house of the Lord, so she provoked her. Therefore she wept and did not eat. Then said Elkanah, her husband, to her, Hannah, why weepest thou? Why eatest thou not? And why is thy heart grieved? Am not I better than 10 sons? So Hannah rose up after they had eaten in Shiloh, and after they had drunk. Now Eli the priest sat upon a seat by a post of the temple of the Lord. And she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed unto the Lord, and wept sore. She vowed a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thy handmaid, and remember me, and forget not thine handmaid, but will give unto thine handmaid a man-child, then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life. There shall no razor come upon his head. It came to pass, as she continued praying before the Lord, that Eli marked her mouth. Now Hannah, she spake in her heart, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she had been drunken. And Eli said unto her, How long wilt thou be drunken? Put away thy wine from thee. And Hannah answered and said, No, my Lord, I am a woman of sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Count not thine handmaid for a daughter of Belial, for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief have I spoken hereto. Then Eli answered and said, Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant thee thy petition that thou hast asked of him. May the Lord bless the readers, hearers, doers, lovers of his holy word. From these 17 verses this morning, we'd like to use for our thought, it's opening up. It's opening up. With every new year, there are certain changes and goals that individuals set for them and themselves as well as their families. The end of one year and the beginning of a new year is a natural time to take a serious look at several things. It's a natural time to take a serious look at the direction that your life is headed. It's also a natural time to look at the strategy that you have been employing to accomplish the goals that you have in your heart and your mind. Then it is also a natural time to look at how much area of coverage you have actually made in your life. First of all, it is important to know the direction that your life is headed. Too often, people know where they want to go, but they have no idea of exactly how to get there. or either they have unrealistic expectations of how they will get to where they really want to be. Brothers and sisters, dreams are only true when you are asleep. Sooner or later, you're going to have to wake up. And in order to make a dream come true, you not only must wake up, but you must get busy to make this thing happen. What I have seen over the course of many years of ministry, in many cases, some of us have too many get-rich-quick schemes. We have this mentality, this hookup mentality. We want the benefit, but we don't want the job. We want the most, but we contribute and give the least. This is a spirit of poverty. It is a negative, draining, evil mentality that will keep us locked in this vicious cycle of defeat. And no matter how much the preacher preaches, no matter how much the answers are given, no matter how well the solutions are communicated, you will never rise above your own mentality. Jesus talked about this, talked about this generation, and talked about its mentality. In Matthew chapter 11 and verse 17, then also in Luke 7 and 32, Jesus, in reference to the mentality of our generation, he asks, whereunto shall I liken this generation? To what are they like? Then he uncharacteristically, unlike Jesus, uncharacteristically answers his own question. He says, this generation, they are like children sitting in the marketplace and calling to one another, saying, we have piped unto you, and you have not danced. We have mourned to you, and you have not wept. In other words, we have given you everything that you needed, but you don't want it. We gave you everything that you could need, but you didn't appreciate it. We gave you everything you needed, but you were ungrateful. You were not thankful. Maybe that's how your Christmas went. You gave your children everything they wanted. They played with it 2 minutes and it's over in the corner somewhere right now. You gave your spouse everything you thought he or she would want, and they were disappointed in the gift you gave them. This generation, we have danced, we have piped, we have even mourned, but you're not satisfied. We sang, we did all we could. Jesus says, we did these things, but you did not appreciate them because of their mentality. Hear what he says. He talks about John the Baptist. He said, John fasted. He continues. He said, John fasted, and you said he's demon possessed. I came eating and drinking, and you said that I'm a glutton and a wine bibber, friend of publicans and sinners. The real question is, how can you satisfy somebody who just won't be satisfied? How can you meet the needs of people who know what they need but don't want what they need? The The real question on the floor this morning is, how can theologically religious people not see that John and Jesus both were sent from God? The reason they couldn't tell it was because of their mentality. Listen, your mentality determines much more than you think. Your mentality places limitations on your own personal expectation. This means, since faith is the substance of things hoped for, or the things that is expected, your mentality can limit, can hinder, can halt even your faith. Please understand that there are several factors that exist inside of your mentality. Insecurity is there, where you don't trust anybody. Depression is there, when you can't seem to stay positive about anything or anybody. Fear is there when you're afraid of failure, and even worse, when you're afraid to be successful. Phobias are there when you can't overcome tendencies that have kept you dysfunctional all of your life. And every bit of these things, and even many more, are linked to our personal mentalities. Listen, God physically delivered the children of Israel out of Egypt, but he was never able to deliver their minds out of it. They remained in prison for 40 years, even though they were physically free. It was because of their mentality. Their mentality kept them in the wilderness wandering, walking around in circles, year after year. More importantly, their mentality kept them out of the promised land. It's the mentality. It is your mentality. It is the way you think. It is the limitations on your mind. It is the bars that you are looking from behind. The cell that you have held yourself in, the sentence that you have given to yourself, it is holding you back. Some people would take the message the wrong way and go out and do things that they're not prepared to do. Some people will go out and just say, well, I'm going to fix this right now. We'll go out and I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to change immediately. But you haven't prepared yourself for it. You have to prepare for the promised land. You have to condition your mind to have real, lasting, consistent change in your life. This year is about your mentality. It is about your way of thinking. It's all about your mentality. Your manhood is about mentality. Your womanhood is about mentality. Parenting is about mentality. Your lifestyle is about mentality. Holiness is about mentality. Righteous living is about mentality. Unholy living is about mentality. Lying is about mentality. Jealousy, backbiting, all of these things are about mentality. Your character is about mentality. Your personality is about mentality, and everything that makes you who you are is about your mentality. So we won't change. We say we won't change. We have not prepared ourselves for the changes that we so desperately seek. This is why it is ludicrous to think that we have the power to change people. You don't have the power to change nobody. Look at how hard it is to change yourself. Every year we go through something that is called New Year's resolution. And I went and I discovered that there are top five resolution that everybody seems to have every year. Number 5 is to quit smoking. Don't look at me like, you know I can smell your breath. Don't act like that. We got some folks smoke up in here. I ain't crazy. Number 5 on the list, we got to quit smoking, and everybody just ain't smoking cigarettes either. Quit smoking. The 4th one everybody seemed to have on their list is we're going to get a better job, or we're going to go back to school. A career change. I'm sick of my job. Sick of them folk on my job. I'd have a good job if I didn't have to deal with that crazy person on the job. Thirdly is to get organized. I'm going to organize my closet. That's a good starting place. Yeah. I'm going to do better. We start out with a clean closet, and 2 days later, it's right back where it was. Or worse. Number 2, I'm going to get out of debt. That's a good one, ain't it? How many years we've been saying we're going to get out of debt? We're in deeper debt now than we were last year. Number 1, the top of the list, every year, I'm going to lose weight. I know we got some folks saying it. You ain't got to give yourself away, but you look guilty right now. You can't lose weight with Mrs. Buttermilk and all that in your refrigerator. Got pancakes and everything for breakfast and bacon and cheese drippings everywhere. We already know it's not going to happen. None of these things will happen if we do not change our mentality. It's easier said than done. It's easier to start, but when you have to stick with it constantly, consistently, that's when we start to drop off. You know, we even go out and get gym memberships. I'm going to have it where they take the money out of my account. You just gave them folk money. Is what you miss one day and, you know, you're trying to cancel. We got to start, first of all, by looking at the man in the mirror. Change yourself. And that has to happen before we can begin to even work on anybody else or get the mote or the beam or the speck out of somebody else's eye. When we got this big mote in our own eye, we've got to check ourselves first. This is the only way we can have something that's going to be real and substantive in our lives. People will come and go out of your life. That's why you can't worry about who leaves. Even if nobody comes, if everybody leaves, you'll be okay if you're working on yourself. So we need to stop being tossed to and fro and desperate with every wind of doctrine and walking about trying to fill our lives with people over and over again when the Lord is saying, here I am. Let me fill the void. And only I can. I'm not going there today, but I could start talking about relationships. But if we start diving into this, then we're going to mess up somebody's New Year's resolution. But the story of Hannah. The story of Hannah and her response. Her request is one that I believe is very appropriate as we begin this new year. I'm almost finished. Y'all give me a little time. Because all of us, to some degree, are in the same position that Hannah was in this text. By all indications, she was a praying person. By all indications, she lived a godly life. Her circle was encompassed by the grace of God. In fact, her name, Hannah, means grace. She was a gracious woman. She was a kind-hearted person. She did not mean any ill will to others. She was mainly and primarily focused on her family, her love for her husband, her desire to walk humble and rightly before her God. Hannah was the kind of person that didn't get in anybody's business. She was not a busybody, not nosy, not worried about what folk thought about her and talked about her and felt about her. Her attention was focused primarily on what can I do about myself. You have to admire somebody like Hannah. Anyone who has any kind of respect for people with a good character would have to put her at the top of the list. All of us would want to be on the friend and family list of Sister Hannah. The background of this text is during a time, the Bible says, it is around the time of the Judges, and if you've done any kind of biblical history, we find that the Judges period was a very difficult time to be in Israel. I find it fascinating, preachers, that at the end of one era, at the beginning of a new, God always has to do something miraculous, or God marks something new with a change in the atmosphere, something that's out of the ordinary, something that is abnormal, an anomaly in a sense that happens to mark the beginning of something new. See, it's not going to be the same old thing anymore. It's a course change. It's a monumental alteration. It's an angle in the line. It's a disruption of what was normal in Hannah's life. The period of the Judges is coming to an end, and Eli, the man that we read about earlier, was serving in the seat of a judge, but also in the seat of the priest of the nation. The Bible tells us that he had served, brothers and sisters, for 40 years as the priest and the overseer, the judge in a sense, to make sure that Israel obeyed the commands and laws of God. Yet under Eli's administration, the whole nation had not come closer to God, but they had gotten further away from God. There was a sense of apathy. There was a sense of criticism. There was a cynicism that had plagued the entire nation. And here Eli is overseeing the spiritual condition of the people. It's a sad state of affairs when the one that should be setting the course for spiritual growth has set a bad example in front of you. Eli had two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, who were wicked, and he refused to confront his own children with their sin. He sat back placating. He sat back with a sense of neutral. He didn't want to offend his own family. I came to tell you that when you stand up for right, you got to put Big Mama in the place sometime. You can't worry about if it's cousin. You can't worry about if it's partner. You can't worry about if it's your own children. You got to stand up for what's right, regardless of who don't like it. And here are Eli's own sons, Hophni and Phinehas, who were priests themselves, had lived such an adulterous lifestyle, having sex in the front of the temple. Eli knew all about it, but he wouldn't do anything about it. Everybody was telling him, but Eli chose to look the other way. Y'all ain't gonna hear me. You got to understand something, believer. We may look the other way, but God ain't looking the other way. We may try to say it's okay because this is certain people. We don't want to hurt nobody's feeling. We can't mess with Big Shot. Big Shot pay big money, but Big Shot need to be told that line is wrong. Hello. Fornicating, adultery, all of these things are sin. I don't care how much money you pay. These messages were unpopular then. And look at how y'all looking at me right now. But even still, it need to be said, Eli sat back and said absolutely nothing. His quietness In the face of sin, God looked at him, and God had already turned his back on Eli. It's amazing to me that we got a whole pulpit and choir full of preachers. We got folk out in the audience that can preach better than I can, but we still looking the other way on sin. You want to preach with the mic, but you can't even preach in your own house. You want to preach in front of the church, but you letting your own family do whatever you want to do. God is not pleased with this. I know this ain't no New Year's message, but I got to preach it anyway. Here they are, doing whatever they wanted to do. And Eli looking the other way. His administration was being marked up terribly. How can the one that should stand for righteousness sit down with all the wrong that's going on? How can the one that's been ordained and anointed to do what God had told him to do sit down when he should be standing up? How can the one that said, put the bottle down, quit smoking crack, is out there smoking crack and drinking too? These things ought not to be. Would to God we had a preacher in the house today. There was a sense of apathy there. The criticism, even the Bible testifies of the condition of the nation. In 1 Samuel 3:1, the Bible says even God said that the word of the Lord was precious in those days. There was no open vision. There was nothing going on. Everything was closed. Nothing was open. In other words, heaven had closed its door. No prophetic preaching. Nobody teaching, no moral attribute, nobody standing up for right. Every man, every woman, every child, everybody was doing what was right in their own eyes. You say, well, boy, it was bad back then, but we talking about right now too, people. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, well, Reverend, that was then, but no, it's going on right now because we still got folks saying, you can't tell me what to do. Mind your own business. You know, we even dress it up 6 months to mind my business and 6 months to leave. All that is saying, stay out of my sinful life. We make excuses when we don't want to change. We make excuses when we don't want nobody to call it out. We make excuses and we try to cover up our sin. But how many of y'all know the cover just too short? Your sin, the Bible says, will find you out. You may have swept it under the rug, but it's going to find you out. You may have tried to hide it, but guess what? It's going to find you out. Goodness and mercy follow those that do what's right, but guess what? Your sin is following you. And if you don't pay for it on this side, when you wake up on the other side, it's going to be facing you face to face. Somebody got to tell these folks the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life. Guess it might as well be me. The Bible said nobody, nowhere had an open vision from God. Oh, what a paradox. How awful it must have been for Eli. Lord have mercy. To be somebody who supposed to be able to hear from God, but he can't hear nothing. Oh, it must be sad, saints. To those of you who once had a prayer life, God used to talk to you, but God ain't saying nothing no more. Oh, it must be awful for you. All of you that were gifted and you were able to just flow in your gift and now you're struggling with it. You know what's going on? It's sin in the camp. Deal with the sin in your own life. I'm going to get off that. I'm going to leave it alone. I see this modern church here. They want you to just talk about prosperity. They don't want you to say nothing about my sin. But oh, this old country preacher still going to call it out. Sin is wrong, and I got to tell you, baby, you can't do anything you want to do and think you're going to heaven. They told me years ago, if you preach this sanctified message, they're going to put you out. Well, put me out. Put me out. Put me out. Because you ain't got no heaven or hell to put me in. You may be able to put me out the church, throw me out the house. house, but you can't put me in hell. And I'm going to heaven telling the truth. I'm scared of you. Sin. Y'all sit down, bro. Sin shows up in our unfaithfulness. It's a shame before God that we can't get preachers to come to Bible class. But they want to preach. It's a shame before God we can't get none of y'all to hardly show up for Sunday school. But you want to teach? What kind of example are you setting? It's sin in the camp. Priorities. All out of order. Well, since we've already stepped out there, the water trouble. We already got in trouble. I might as well go and say this too. And see if we're going to get out here then, do we? We might as well just go and get on out there. What y'all say about it? Very people who should be concerned about God and the things of God. One who should have been leading was somewhere sitting down. Lord have mercy. I can't get off this, y'all. The Holy Spirit telling me to keep staying on it. We want to be over the auxiliary. We want to be the leaders. We want to be over stuff, but we ain't got no kind of power. Ain't got no prayer life. We ain't got no kind of fasting going on. No commitment, but then we wonder why ain't nobody following us. That's why they ain't following you. They don't see the consistency that is needed. But there was one man by the name of Elkanah. Elkanah is a strange fellow. He keeps on coming to Shiloh to worship. The Bible tells us that every year he comes to Shiloh. He continues to bring his sacrifices. Back then, anyone preacher should know if you were going to worship, you had to bring something. Anytime you're going to worship, you need to bring an offering. You need to bring a sacrifice. And in the old days, they would bring an offering, and then they would bring some type of grain or some type of wheat, and they would give it to the priest. Elkanah kept on giving. He kept on worshiping. He continued to sacrifice to God. Not only did he come, but he brought his two wives with him. One of his wives, Peninnah, had children. He brought Peninnah's children with him to Shiloh to worship. And he would come and he would bring the sacrifices. He had enough sacrifices for his whole family. He began to give out portions, and he would give some portions to Peninnah and her sons and daughters, and he would give a portion to Hannah, and he would keep a portion for himself. In other words, he didn't just send his children to Sunday school class with no money. Oh God. He made sure that the children had something to put in the offering. Y'all ain't gonna help me, but that's okay. It's all right. It's okay. He made sure that his children had a quarter or something to put in the Sunday school offering. Elkanah was a rich man, and you know he was rich because he was married to two wives, and we know God did not approve of this. God never endorsed this marrying of two wives, but it was cultural influence. It was the hardness of the heart that conditioned the people, and the atmosphere of polygamy. It was there. Elkanah was able to take care of these two wives, and he made sure that every year they went up to worship. Now, the Bible says that they came up out of the city and went to worship. Listen, anytime you go to worship, you're going to come up. You can't go down to worship. You got to come up, and he comes up out of the city to worship, bringing sacrifices, bringing sheep and lamb, bringing wheat and grain. Nobody ever came to worship with nothing in their hands. The Bible says that when he began to give out these portions, he gave out a little bit to Peninnah, he gave out a little bit to her son, a little bit to her daughters, but then when he got to Hannah, he gave her the most. He said, I want you, honey, to have enough to give. You don't have any children, you don't have any offspring, but I want you to be able to give God all that you can. The Bible says he did this over and over again. In fact, verse 7 said it was year after year after year. They kept coming year after year after year. 365 days later, here they come again. This man with his family preparing to worship, and everybody got their portion. Everybody going to give. Everybody going to make a sacrifice. There's nothing wrong with what they're doing. This is the way it's supposed to be. There's nothing wrong with the manner in which they're doing it. This is how it's supposed to occur. They're doing the right thing in public. But Hannah was dealing with something in private. Year after year after year. What do you do when worship ain't enough for you? What do you do when the preaching ain't enough for you anymore? What do you do when coming to church don't satisfy you no more? What do you do when the atmosphere in the house of the Lord doesn't make a change in your life anymore? Hannah was coming to worship, but she was still empty on the inside. She had more to give than anybody else, but she was still empty on the inside. Doing the right thing in public. In private, she's suffering, she's crying, she's dealing with some issues that she can't tell anybody about. And I see how you're looking. You say, Reverend, what is it? How in the world can this woman, amen, come to worship God year after year after year with more to give than anybody else and still not be satisfied? Well, Hannah had three major problems going on. Number one, she didn't have any children. That's a problem. That's a big problem. Then number two, she was being ridiculed by Peninnah. That's a big problem. And then the biggest problem of all is that the Lord had shut up her womb. All three of these problems were going on at the same time. But yet and still, she kept coming to worship. She kept coming to give a portion. She kept showing up in Shiloh year after year after year with no children, being ridiculed by Peninnah. And the Lord has shut up her womb. There was nothing she could do about any of these things. Nothing she could do about not being able to have children. Nothing she could do about Peninnah messing with her. Nothing she could do, certainly, about God shutting up her womb. It wasn't her fault that she couldn't have children. She was being meddled by an adversary because of jealousy. And you know that there was absolutely nothing nobody can do against the hand of a living God. Real issue at hand then, obviously, since she can't do nothing with God and she certainly can't control birth, she can't control having a baby, that's beyond her control. The possible thing that she can maybe do something about is Peninnah. God ain't messing with her. God ain't picking at her. But here this other woman is. Oh, Lord. Messing with her. Now, even the Bible said, I'm almost finished, you all. The Bible says that she was being provoked. She was being picked at. She was being picked on. She was being criticized by Peninnah, and there was nothing she could do about it. Somebody else know what it's like to be harassed by somebody who is jealous of you, antagonized by a wicked heart, and there's nothing you can do about it. Woman is constantly in her ear, constantly making fun of her, constantly trying to make her life miserable. Year after year, the harassment of Peninnah, she just kept picking on Hannah, just kept messing with Hannah, just kept pointing the finger at her, just accusing her, and Peninnah just kept messing with her over and over and over again, and Hannah got tired of it. You say, I know you saved, but even saved folk get tired of putting up with mess. Even saved folk get tired of being harassed and picked on. And if I wasn't saved, I could deal with it my own way, but I got to wait on God. Every year, that little harassing spirit, that cynicism, that criticism, that whispering, y'all don't know nothing about that. That whispering, that always finding fault, and you just get tired of it. What do you do when you're tired of dealing with folk that you worship with? You'd be surprised how many people tell me they waiting on certain folk to die at our church so they can come and join it. Because they don't want to worship with certain folk. But Hannah had no choice. She had to come. Had to come to worship. Had to come. And then she got to get more. But she has no children. Peninnah messing with her. Look at somebody and say, you got a Peninnah too. I can't fight it. Can't do nothing about it. I'm trying to be spiritual. Trying to be patient. I'm sick of this Negro. God, when you gonna do something? And she can't even tell Elkanah. Isn't it amazing how this man living with two women and don't even see what's going on? What do you do when the one that's closer to you has no clue of what you're really dealing with? What do you do when the one that you love and the one that's supposed to love you don't see that you're hurting on the inside? Elkanah is totally blind to the fact that Hannah is being harassed by Peninnah, and still he keeps on as if nothing is wrong. Don't that just make you aggravated? Don't that just make you upset when somebody should see stuff and you giving them all kind of clue, all kind of hint, and they still don't see it? I know this message ain't for everybody. This man don't even see it. Constant criticism, the constant eyeballing, the constant attitude, the mentality, the complaining, the picking, the messiness, the silliness kept going year after year after year. Now, it's one thing if it was just 1 year. It's one thing if it was just a few weeks. It's one thing if it's just a little few months. But what do you do? There doesn't seem to be an end to the same old harassing, messing spirit. And I'm sick of this messy spirit that's messing with me. And it's messing with my worship. It's messing with my praise. It's messing with my vision. And here I got the praise and worship, but this spirit is here. Come to church every Sunday, and guess what? The spirit is there. There to harass. There to watch you. There to eyeball you. There to wait for you to make a mistake. There to find fault. There to pick on you. There just to be messy. Am I preaching to anybody up here? Hannah kept on praying. Eli. She kept on praying. She was tired of it. Not going through another year with this. She was tired of it. I'm sick of this. I'm going to pray this time. I'm going to pray. And I'm going to pour out my heart to God. I'm finna empty it all out. You know, sometimes you just got to do that. You got to get before God and put it all out in the open. Be honest, God, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this, Lord. You can do whatever you want, but please do something about this. I ain't studying that other stuff. Do something about this. I ain't got to have no money. Just do something about this. I ain't got to have without healing. Just do something about this. If you do something about this, I'll be all right. How many of you know you got to have that one-on-one with God? I know you holy folk don't understand that. You holy folks say, well, you know, you just ought to let it ride. And we don't let it ride too long. It's time to get one-on-one before God and say, Lord, this is it. This is the issue. This is the problem. This is the thing I need help with. If you don't help me with this, I don't need no help with nothing. Just help me with this right here. And some of you, it is your mentality. That's what you need help with. Others, it's your attitude. Somebody, it's your mouth. Others, it's that lustful spirit. But God is saying, I'm going to do something if you really want some help. She prayed. Y'all sit down. That's all right. She prayed. She prayed so till she ran out of words. You know you're really praying when your mouth is moving. Ain't nothing coming out of it. She's praying so hard. She's praying so until Eli said, you got to be drunk. Now this is the spiritual leader. The one who should have been able to point it out. Oh, that woman is calling on God. Now how can she pour out her heart to God and Eli not even know it? This man is so far away from God, he has no clue that she's praying. You're a drunk woman. You know, when you really start praying, folk gonna think you crazy. You start going through the house and anointing stuff. You know? What's done got into you? You listening to Hive, ain't you? I should have known. Spirit don't like it when you start praying. Everybody ain't gonna be happy when you start praying. Some of your friends gonna walk away from you when you really start praying. The partners you thought really loved prayer, they'll stop praying when you start praying. Some of you all went a whole year and you ain't prayed none. You know, it shocked me the other day when the Lord just showed me, and I know this don't apply to none of these older mothers, but some of these younger mothers went a whole year and ain't prayed none for their children. You ought to be ashamed. Here you are with 3 children and you ain't praying for none of them. What are you raising in that own house of yours? What are you going to have when they turn 11 and 12? Better be praying for these children. You better be putting some kind of hand on these children. More than just whooping. You need to be anointing, loving, declaring, calling things as though they are that are not, saying you are healed, you are delivered. I didn't mean to preach this long today. I got 8 more pages, but I'm going to have to cut it off. Hannah prayed. She kept on praying. The Bible says, and God heard her. God heard her cry. You know, the blessed privilege today is when we pray. When you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm not going another year like this. For some of you, it's your marriage. I'm not going through this mess no more with you. Everybody said, call Richard Swart. I'm going to call Richard Swart. But he's going to take away my blues. And you is it. You going with him. I'm not going through this anymore. When you get tired, you get serious about it. God will get serious about it. How many of y'all know that's true today? We're going to pray. Didn't get a chance to finish this message, but that's all right. Maybe the Lord will let us continue next week. These things need to be said. It's a brand new year. And we want to start off on the right foot. You understand what I'm saying? We're going to do that. We're going to do that. Father, thank you today. Lord, even though I didn't finish everything you gave me, I pray that something had been said today to set us on the right course. Oh, Lord. Many people are like Hannah today. I've been coming to church, but it ain't doing me no good. Making offerings, but it ain't doing me no good. Making sacrifice, but it's not doing me no good. It's this other thing that's bothering me. Help me with that. Everybody's got a that. That's what I need help with. And we come pouring out our heart, soul to you, Jesus. Please hear our cry. We're praying like Hannah prayed. Open our wombs. Open the areas that have been closed. And pour out blessings on us. Do it now. In Jesus' name. And I pray today, Lord, for all these brothers and sisters in your house. We just bind the spirit of offense. We stop looking to blame other people. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's not my mother, it's not my father, it's not my sisters or brother. It's me, Lord. Help me to be the one you're calling for. Mold us and make us, shape us into people that are pleasing in your sight. We make a request, even as Hannah prayed and made a vow to the Lord. Lord, when you do this, we will be careful to give you the praise. When you do this, we will glorify you. We will magnify you. We will lift you up even higher. Something good is getting ready to happen. I see doors opening up now. I see spirits opening up now. Healing is opening up now. Deliverance is opening up now. I said it's opening up right now. That job is opening up right now. That career is opening up for you now. That financial miracle is opening up for you. It's opening right now. Hallelujah. Thank you. Thank you today, Lord. We wait on your presence. We wait on the manifestation. Thank you, Jesus. Praise your name. And we claim these things and many others in Jesus' name. Thank God. Amen.